Welcome to Recipe Club, where we debate the best way to cook the food you want to eat. My name is Chris Ying. Joining me here in the clubhouse today are three solo travelers wandering the great expanse of existence, looking for something to eat. First, directly to my left here, a producer on Dinner Time Live and a returning Recipe Club winner, Becky Joiner. What is something you only get to eat when you're by yourself?
There's really two things. One of the things I made for you today.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is Easy Mac with hot Cheetos on top.
Ooh.
Hot Cheeto croutons. Sorry, I should. You shouldn't have asked me that
You only asked for one.
Well, I had two.
No extra credit
Wait, did
here.
you say Easy Mac?
Yeah.
You just mean the boxed macaroni?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that a
No,
name?
Easy Mac is the microwaved one.
Yeah.
Let's be real here. Let's not.
Oh, okay.
let's not-
I didn't know.
It's still craft.
Let's be real. All right, next, a chef who has taken his culinary talents everywhere from Berkeley to Shanghai to the glorious culinary capital of Boston, Massachusetts. Marc Johnson, overrated or underrated, solo dining at a restaurant.
Underrated. I love doing it. I think the first time I did it, I was in college and I did it and I was like, this is amazing. You feel empowered. I've done like Michelin starred meals by myself and it is so intense. It's almost too intense.
It's too
but
intense.
You're like focused on everything. You notice all the stuff going on in the dining room. I really like it. Highly encouraged.
Weirdo.
And finally, a man of impeccable taste who introduced me to the chicken wings at Griffith Park Golf Course.
Oh.
My partner at Major Domo Media, Chris Chen. What is your guilty, no one is looking, pleasure eating device?
First of all, you just blew up our spot. So that is negative points for you. But guilty pleasure, I have to say, sausage, egg McMuffin with cheese at McDonald's.
I love
Nobody's
that.
looking.
Is it just one though?
No, never won.
Yeah. That's the guilty part is
Never
two.
won.
Yeah. I was going to say, you shouldn't
Delicious.
be ashamed of sausage,
Yeah,
egg, and cheese.
you
No.
should not be ashamed of that.
Never.
You should be a little ashamed of having two. A little.
I'm
bit.
not.
All right. I have brought these three to the club today to debate the best way to cook a meal for one. So as dutiful club members, each of them has cooked a publicly available recipe themed under the Dinner for One umbrella. We're going to get to all of that in just a minute, but first, let's set the table a little bit here, guys. I want to establish everybody's solo cooking, solo dining cred first. So, Becky,
Yes.
as I mentioned earlier, you're a returning Recipe Club winner. You won our season premiere for a Valentine's Day meal that you cook in tandem with your husband.
Cheater.
Wow. This early? This early we're going there?
I have to assume sometimes your husband isn't there. How much solo cooking do you do now or have you done in your life?
I mean, before I met my husband, all of my cooking was solo cooking. And most of it was just meal prep. Like I would make something and have it last like a whole week because I was also poor. But yeah, I think for the most part, we still we cook almost every night together. There are a couple nights a month maybe that he's not there. And I hope he's not listening to this because I do get kind of excited when he's not going to be there because that means that I can do whatever I want, which is usually just taking whatever leftovers I have and putting them into a Crunchwrap.
Which we will get to soon. Mark, you've got a wife, 2 kids that we know about. Are you ever alone anymore?
No, never. That's why I approach this episode as like, you need to treat yourself. Like this is sitting down, having something nice that maybe you wouldn't normally cook for yourself. I have kids, so spice level is going to be up a little bit of adventure out there. Cause like normally for my kids, I got to cook something that I know they're going to like or like is in the same canon of what they like. So this is just like, let's try something new. It's adventure by yourself.
And finally, Chris Chen, maybe a ringer for this episode. You're the only one of these three to have shed the shackles of matrimony. You are no roommates, no rules. my question for you is it as good as it seems like from the outside?
It can be. I'm the only one on this panel qualified to be on this episode.
See, that's cheating. That's cheating, Chris.
That's a little, advantage I'll take.
I expect more than from you.
But yes, it can be.
the bar is high.
Fun. It can be lonely at times. But I got nobody complaining about my food.
Yeah.
And I'm going to eat everything that I see. So
tell me more about the lonely. I'm just kidding.
And also, you get to do it whenever you want.
That's right.
It's not like,
here's a question.
10:30 tonight. I'll do that.
Yeah, here's a question. Yeah, this is a great question. Mark, if you're not under pressure to feed the family, what time ideally are you eating dinner?
8 to 9 o'clock, maybe in a 10. It depends on how involved it is, but I like to eat dinner later, like after 8 o'clock. So this like getting dinner ready at 6 o'clock, or my kids play soccer, so I'll start prepping some stuff and have it ready. So when we get back at 6 o'clock, it's ready. But 6 o'clock, it's too early.
Becky, what time are you eating dinner when Jess is out of town?
Honestly, I go really early, probably like 5, maybe 4:35. But listen, if I eat past 7, I have nightmares.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I've always had very vivid dreams. And if I eat too late, it's curtains.
Are they food-related nightmares or just nightmares?
Just straight up nightmares. Like bad stuff is happening. So
You're like
So your whole life, you always eat before 7 o'clock.
I mean, I try to, but like even like this last week, we ate dinner at 9, like 2 nights ago. And I was like, all right, buckle up.
You're basically like a
Buckle up.
mogwai. Like if you eat too late, you just turn into a gremlin.
Yes.
Got it.
I
Thank
agree
you.
with Becky for different reasons, though.
What?
You want an early dinner?
I don't
you
mind
want
an early dinner because then I can get a second dinner.
See?
11.
He's
that
right.
is true.
He's absolutely right.
But then you're gonna have crazy nightmares. So you can't have two.
Yeah, if it's delicious enough, it's worth it. You know?
I'm living that reality though, because like Mark, I think my kids expect dinner by 5:45 or 6 p.m., which is insane to me. Is insane. And I eat with them, and then I'm hungry again at a reasonable hour of 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I'm a hobbit eating 2 dinners. So when it comes to cooking for oneself, I think there's different schools of thought here. I have a friend who's kind of a permanent bachelor who really goes all out. To your point, Mark, like treat yourself. It's a special occasion. He like posts these things on Instagram, and I won't out him, but it's like, I made myself buckwheat waffles 4 different ways. Like this one with caramelized banana, this one with
That's
blah,
definitely
blah,
not
blah. Like sous vide pork tenderloin and soft scrambled eggs with creme fraiche. And then there's this sort of other darker side of solo cooking, which you see a lot of on TikTok and things like that, the sort of kitchen sink stir fries and the every night's a frozen pizza night. I've lived this life. I'm not judging. Like it's a real thing. So I guess my question is, what do you guys think when you're cooking for yourselves? Because you've all cooked for more than one person. What specifically makes a good recipe for one?
Go back to what Mark said earlier. I like it spicy.
Yep.
You like the freedom to do what you want.
100%. That's right.
When I was, my recipe called for 2 cans of chickpeas, which I was like, okay, this is not for one person, obviously. But cooking something like that or doing that is you're cooking leftovers, something that holds well, that then you can have different meals. If you're by yourself, you're like, oh, I got lunch or another dinner. I can turn it into something else, or I can give it to, my wife. She can take it into lunch the next day. So you're kind of like treating yourself, but you're also treating down the road like you got something in the back. But that also goes against all right, I'm going to take whatever leftovers I have. So then maybe you're kind of forming another leftover situation down the road
So I think we've got 2 things so far. So there's sort of customizability. Make it as spicy as you want it to be. Put whatever you want in there. There's a sort of versatility thing where if you're going to have leftovers, hopefully you can do something else with it later. And then I think that the third tenet here is something that I'm inspired by Becky. I think like the freakiness.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Getting really weird with it. Doing combinations that if you told someone you were eating that, they would be concerned about you.
Yeah,
they would literally be like, we need to talk. I think something is wrong. That's the best.
I think those are the 3 pillars of a good solo recipe is you can customize it to your liking. Whatever you like, it can be as weird as you want it to be. And then versatility.
Hot Cheeto's not that freaky.
No, it gets freakier. That's the only
Talk
one I'm
to me,
willing to
Becky.
say on the air.
What else you got for me?
I don't know if you're ready for that. I don't know. I don't know.
You know,
I don't know, man.
one thing when I ate yours, I was like, and I heard it when we were in here first, is you're like, I eat this right over the stovetop. And that's all I could think about eating yours. I was like, this would be perfect right over the stovetop. When you're eating by yourself, sometimes you're not going to sit down and treat yourself. You're just going to just like, whatever.
Yes.
And you're like having a drink. You just got home from wherever.
Yeah.
You're doing that. And it's kind of nice.
Speed dating, if you will. You just got home.
Is that freaky for you, Mark?
No, but
Should we
it's just
talk
like
stuff.
It's just like you don't have to worry about making it an actual like sit down and eat dinner. It's just like
So far,
make it happen.
Yeah.
so far, Chen's response to everything has been like, "You two aren't freaky enough for him."
I want to know what freaky is.
Solo
I want to
dining.
know what the
freaky.
freaky scale
All right,
is.
so I was a weirdo when I've cooked for people for a long time. So there's like a narrow window of time when I was really just cooking for myself in college and a little bit after. And I would eat weird stuff. I would eat like 2 heads of broccoli, just 2 full heads, just like charred super hard in a pan with like chili, and then I would just eat them with tortillas, and I would call them brocos. That was
my
my
God.
man. That
That sounds amazing.
How can that possibly taste good?
okay. Listen, no kink shaming over here, man. Like that's my freak. Just brocos.
I love that you named it
Brocos.
too.
I know. You've been waiting for this moment.
I
I'm
would
so honored to be
also,
here for
like,
it.
I made fun of my friend for doing, 4 kinds of waffles. I would also stay up until 3 a.m. making my own, I swear to God, Mark, boudin blanc in the kitchen. Just
For yourself?
For myself.
Please explain what
I would make like
Yeah, what is that?
36 sausages, homemade sausages that are like super labor intensive, super ridiculous, just because I was so alone and just craved the touch of meat in my hands. Anyway, when you search for dinner for one recipes on the internet, you get 828 million results. Everything from sushi bake for one to pizza lava toast to Anita Lowe, the famous chef, has a book about cooking for one. One of her recipes is called Single Broken Egg on a Bed of Torn Wilted Bitter Greens with Blue Cheese.
That's the name of the book or the name of a recipe?
No, that's a poem.
It's a haiku. It's the name of the recipe. And things like mug baked rigatoni. These 3, you've each chosen sort of a recipe from those 828 million results. You've gone a little off book and you've brought everything here. Coming up right now, we're going to get into recipe reports. Each of our 3 Recipe Club members has chosen a publicly available recipe to take for a spin. This week's recipes come from Becky Joiner herself, which we will share with everybody. Delish, is at delish.com, I think.
My
And
favorite.
finally, the back of the Golden Curry box.
That's me.
Becky, Mark, and Chris brought the results of their investigations here to the studio today, shared them with their fellow Recipe Club members, wrote down some thoughts, wrote down some critiques, graded their opponents' dishes, and we're going to get to all of that for scoring later, but I think first we're going to go one by one and start talking about these individual recipes. I'm going to start with Becky. Becky, you've alluded to what you made here, but I have on my sheet that it is Becky Joiner's Leftover Crunchwrap.
That's right.
Give me a visit from Becky to the Recipe Club is never complete without a little Taco Bell shout out. I'll be very upset if I find out that you are being sponsored by Taco Bell on the side of this show.
I wish. Taco Bell, sponsor me. It's not happened yet.
What is a Crunchwrap for those uninitiated?
Basically, is a hexagon the 6-sided?
Yeah, hexagon.
It's a hexagonal shaped wrap that's got some crunch inside of it. A normal wrap, it's a cylinder and it may have ingredients inside it that are crunchy, but a crunch wrap has a tostada in the middle that makes it so that it's definite there's going to be crunch no matter what.
Okay.
No matter what ingredients you choose.
So it's a tortilla wrapped around whatever. What is the typical Taco Bell filling?
So usually it's seasoned beef at the bottom. You have the tostada. Then you have lettuce, tomato, sour cream. I think nacho cheese. You can sub it. Sometimes I'll sub it for regular cheese because I'm a sophisticated lady. And then it's just wrapped up beautifully. You fold it each corner so it looks like a little star. And then seam side down in the pan to toast it. Do it on the other side. And that's a Crunchwrap, babe.
To lock in the flavor.
You got to lock in the flavor. You also got to, the thing I learned today, because I was trying to do it as close to when I was going to leave as possible so that they would be like authentic. But if you don't do it hard enough on the seam side, it will start to open. And that's the worst feeling in the world. It's truly the worst feeling in the entire world. All of your hard work, the beautiful wrapping, it doesn't matter. It just opens up.
For anybody out there who's recently
like a sad little taco bowl.
For anyone who's recently lost a loved one or gone through a separation, just know there's a worse feeling in the world.
Don't make these. It'll make you feel worse.
If the seam opens on your Crunchwrap, you cannot feel worse.
How do you seam it?
It's from like folding it, basically. Like you can, some people, I mean, by some people, I mean Taco Bell headquarters will put like a flour round at the top so that way there's no opening. But I don't do, I like to just keep it a little bit more rustic. So once you fold over every edge. I should have brought one for demonstration.
But there's nothing to help the closure?
No, just sheer willpower.
That was part of my comment, actually,
Yeah.
was that it was excellent closure.
Thank you so much.
True story. The Taco Bell innovation chefs used to come to Major Domo, the restaurant, and that was like, we need to like give them the best stuff because I was like, their innovation, they're doing crazy folds and stuff. Like we had to treat those people because they're amazing. Their thought process of using same ingredients, different ways.
Becky, you love a Crunchwrap.
I do. And I think it's interesting. Like the Crunchwrap's been around for over a decade now. And it's
20 years, my friend.
Oh my God, that's 2 decades. Wow. I was close. I had decade in there.
You were off by 100%.
I was off by 100%. No, I just think it's interesting that more like places haven't adapted the Crunchwrap to like other cuisines, other menus, other restaurants. Cause I feel like it's such a smart, portable thing.
And what are you going to do about that?
I'm just gonna keep making them at home by myself and eating them over the stove.
So what is the what's the recipe here? What did you do? What do we eat?
So usually I'll know like if my husband's if he has plans and he's not gonna be home for dinner. So the night before that, I'm like, oh, I'll make this larb that we like, which is basically just a meat salad. And he's like, oh, this is great. I'm like, yeah. What he doesn't know is that then as soon as he leaves, I'm going to turn around, I'm going to take those leftovers, I'm going to make myself a tiny little slaw salad, and I'm going to make a Crunchwrap out of it. He was my taster this morning, and he was like, this is great. And I was like, gosh, dang it, I'm going to have to start making them.
Your leftover larb, you leftover, whatever leftovers, basically. Your recipe is what? Take your leftovers.
Any leftovers. I mean, honestly, everything I've tried for the most part has worked. I would say avoid anything that's too saucy, or especially like, like a tomato sauce, like pasta situation. Sure. That wouldn't be good. That's a little too freaky even for me. I mean, I would try it and maybe it is good. I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe I'll do that when I get home. But yeah, basically anything that's got like a nice meat base to it and that you can make a nice little salad to go with it. And like Taco Bell uses lettuce. I like cabbage. I find it sturdier. I think it gives you a better crunch. So I'll usually like make a quick little like vinaigrette or something to like toss it. So that way it has like the same flavors. And then you get this beautiful well-rounded thing.
So what was specifically in the larb one here?
So that one was ground pork. And then I made a sauce. It was like fish sauce, lime juice, ginger, and tiny bit, like a pinch of sugar, just to kind of try and get some of the acidity to like balance out. And then chili garlic paste. And then, so I cooked the pork, I put the sauce on top of it. And then I made more of the sauce and I put that on cabbage, shredded carrots, and red onions. And that was basically it. I also made a little tostada to go in the middle because you can't forget the tostada.
The crunchiness.
And they're so easy to make. Literally, you just put the oven on at 400, you spray it lightly with oil, and then you just let it do its thing for 15 minutes.
So I think that this idea is so smart, like the larb one. So the other one you have is kind of like a barbacoa one.
Yeah, the other one, I had a slow cooker barbacoa that I made like a month ago. So we'll do like slow cooker once a month, and then we have food for, it's
Mark
like one
just
dinner a
looks
week.
out
Is he horrified? I'm not looking at Mark
we-
because I feel like he's going to be horrified by all the things I'm saying.
I think what just went through Mark's head is the same thing that went through mine, which is, did I just eat month-old barbacoa out of the fridge?
It was frozen. It was frozen. I promise. I actually made it earlier this week. So it's usually the last Monday of the month. So
I think it's
Pretty very specific.
Wow.
Oh yeah, no, I'm like a pretty regimented lady.
Wow.
you guys have
You have a
it said it-
calendar, a
We have
cooking calendar?
I have a rotation, and it's not super strict. It's not like, oh, it's this exact recipe this night, but it's like usually like Tuesdays I'll make tacos, Wednesdays I'll do like some kind of pasta dish, Thursday I'll do some kind of like rice dish. Like I like to have balance, and I like to balance out like what the proteins are too. So it's not like we're having pork every single night. So you have to think about these things. I'm also very type A. I don't know if you can tell from everything I'm saying right now. I feel like I'm really vulnerable today. I'm like really exposing myself to you guys.
What happens when you're by yourself making this Crunchwrap Supreme and it falls apart? Are you just like tossing it in the garbage and crying? Because you said it was the saddest thing ever.
You like try to put it back together, and then you still eat it.
Yeah.
But you have to like hold it very, very tightly. And that's the sad. Yeah, it's all just like falling out into your hands. And I'm sorry. It's like, I'm glad I do this at home by myself, but I also would love to know what the visual looks like of me just like sadly holding like the scraps of a leftover Crunchwrap over the stove, just like, ugh.
You ever go to the fork?
No.
If it explodes?
That's a great idea. I should do that.
No fork.
No, I'm asking a question.
A fork and a plate would actually be a really good idea if I know it's not structurally sound.
I mean, you might as well put out some candles and get the nice silver out there. No.
Well, that's the thing that I think is interesting too when we were all talking about like dinner for one and what that means. Because I feel like you guys, it's like, I'm going to make a nice meal for myself. I'm going to like have like a moment. It's almost like a date with yourself, which I think is lovely. And I'm like, what does it say about me that I'm like a goblin that's just like standing over the stove like
A gremlin. Let's get some of the feedback here. So, Mark, you found the slaw to be one of the positives in the
acidity, brightness.
Nice.
I really enjoyed that.
You thought the flavors overall were great. You thought this does need to be eaten hot, standing over the stove.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely
it's just
right.
the tortilla starts to become almost like breadier and stuff like that. If it's really hot, I know it's going to eat differently.
I had a similar comment to your second critique here, which was, and maybe it's just a function of the temperature of the thing, but again, too much tortilla.
Yeah.
I think tortilla to filling ratio, but it's delicate, right? Because otherwise it busts open and spills out.
Yep.
Christopher Chen thought it was an excellent seal/closure.
Yeah, like I said.
Wow. Even before you knew about my struggles with the seam, Chris Chen, you get me.
Yes.
I will say it was.
That's so nice.
I have made Crunchwraps, and I think that like getting them to close. There's no seal. There's no like little piece of cheese in there that glues it together.
No.
It is a challenge. I was
That's what I
impressed
was
by
asking.
Thank you.
That. Great handheld size.
One hand.
Yes. The portability.
Nice variety of texture and flavor. Chen, you want a little kick.
Yeah.
I thought I was talking to Taco Bell Miss Diablo.
Wow. Oh my God.
Prior,
He
Recipe
watched my
Club.
episode.
Do you ever dip these things at home, Eileen?
Sometimes.
Yeah. What kind of dips do you put in there?
Well, it depends. Sometimes I'll take if there's leftover of like the sauce that I already made. Sometimes I'll make like a crema situation, like for the beef one. And that, like, I'll put some like hot sauce in it. I'll mix it together.
yeah, see, I could see that like a more rich kind of dip sour cream situation.
I share your love of the Diablo.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah, I
And
wanted that in there.
have you tried putting that in sour cream and then using that as a dipping sauce? It's really good. I also do that with sriracha too, with sour
Nasty.
cream.
Chen, you
So
liked
yeah.
the closure, but you thought the wrap could be a little tighter. I think that's the same thing of like
Yeah.
the edges had a lot of tortilla.
Yep.
I think was the thing.
Some air in there.
My
completely.
thoughts, the ones that matter. I thought the larb wrap is so smart. I know you're making your own larb, but to me, if you order Thai food, order Lao food, or whatever, you have larb on the side, like it already comes with cabbage.
Mhm.
You could slice that up. You could use the veg that's already in there, dress that with the same thing, and have like a larb wrap would be amazing. I agreed with Mark. I think the slaw, like the acidity and like the freshness from both of them had like a veg component was really delicious.
Yay.
I also think this is so personal. This is like something you really speaks to Becky.
Yeah.
It's a real Becky thing.
Yeah. That started really nice, but then the last time you said it started to feel like it wasn't so
Sometimes
nice.
I start saying something nice and I start feeling uncomfortable saying nice things and I have to make them mean by the end.
No, that's fair.
I wanted it like a little, maybe this is a sauce thing. I kind of wanted it like a little gooier or sloppier.
Yeah. That was also, I think I pushed it to the limit too much. I was like, I'm going to get these like super hot off the stove and then jump in my car. I did not factor in how much time it was going to take to make 8. And so I was like rushing and I was trying to not burn them too. So it was like, I think if I had the right amount of time, it probably would have been better.
And then you bake these?
No, I toast them on the stove.
Okay.
And that's also where it's like you want it to be low and slow because you want it to really get like golden, and that's what gets it like melty. If you do it too high, it burns the outside and the inside stays cold.
Okay. Because that was the thing. I would like them to be maybe like a little more fat, like a little more fried or something would be nice too.
Absolutely agree.
But otherwise, delicious. And I think this application will work for so many things. Marker makes me think of like cold Chinese 5-spice beef or something in there, like a beef roll would be so good. And like,
I also like the fact that you're having that veg meat. It's a complete like meal. It
Yes.
has everything in there.
Oh.
So you're not even like, I had to add cucumbers to mine to like round it out a little bit. You have everything in
No,
there.
see, not to jump ahead, but I loved that about yours. I was like, I think I even wrote macros were on point. You had them all covered. It's important. You got textures, you got the macros.
Yeah.
Chris Chen's like, what about mine?
Yours was also delicious.
To talk about mine.
Anyway, my last comment on this was, do you think, I know you're a loyalist.
Yes.
Does it have to be a crunch wrap shape? Because a lar burrito would be pretty good too.
A lar burrito would be great. And honestly, I think there's nothing wrong with that, but that's no longer a crunch wrap.
That's true. That's
But I
true.
think you could definitely apply. You could literally do this with tacos.
Would you cut the tortilla then and toast it in the rectangular shape and put it in the burrito to make it crunchy?
Whoa!
Could you do that?
You crazy, man.
That's a great
That's over
idea.
my head.
That's like a burrito lasagna.
Dude, that would be good. I was also thinking for the larb one, you could do like a spring roll, like a fried spring roll wrapper in the middle instead of a tostada.
You guys are getting crazy here. Okay, so that is Becky Joiner's leftover crunch wrap. We're going to move into our second recipe. Marc Johnson, you chose the best Indian butter chickpeas recipe from delish.com, courtesy of, I'm not going to make any assumptions about this person, Taylor Ann Spencer with the best Indian butter chickpeas recipe. So this is a dish. So I did a little research into this.
Ooh.
The butter chickpea, the dal makhni, is a classic. This is like a legacy Indian dish. It's actually invented by an Indian chef named Kundan Lal Gujral. I did that perfectly right.
Great job.
Who also invented butter chicken, and I think maybe tandoori chicken too.
Prolific.
This
Yeah.
dish traditionally is made with black gram, which is kind of a bean related to mung bean. It looks like a little lentil. My point in giving you some of this background here, Marc, is I'm so interested in your choice of this and making it. And I also applaud the idea of making this dish solo because no one was around to cancel you for making this dish however you made it. So talk to me about how this went.
I mean, at first I looked at this recipe, I was like, I'm not doing this. And then I started to actually read it and you're like, okay, there's canned chickpeas, tomato paste, ginger, chilies, onions. It's all stuff I have around the house. And outside of the garam masala and the dried fenugreek leaves, it's pretty much stuff I have around the house. So I was like, oh, this is pretty easy. And it was just like chopping and sauteing and stuff like that. So you take onions, saute it in butter, you add tomato paste, you cook out tomato paste, and it's really funny when you're cooking that at first, you're kind of like, this could go Italian at this point. It's just onions and tomato paste. And then you add in ginger, serrano chilies, which I use jalapenos, and then you add in the chickpeas, garam masala, Kashmiri chili, which you can substitute with cayenne and paprika, and cumin. Cook that, add in cream, and then that's about it. Season it up. You put in the fenugreek. It says it's optional. I think it's better. That's pretty much it. And it honestly,
Chickpeas lying around the house.
yeah.
bro.
They're just in a can.
Don't
You just keep 'em in the pantry.
It's like the easiest meal stuff you can do.
I don't even keep them in cans. They're just loose chickpeas all over my house, just floating around, man.
Chickpeas, beans, everything.
What
I mean,
legumes do you
tomatoes.
have at your house, Chen?
Not that.
You have any legumes?
What's the starches you cook at home?
I
Pasta,
no,
pasta
I'm
and
a
rice.
rice boy.
Just rice.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Pasta, of course, but like.
we try to create variety at my house.
Okay.
Marc, let me ask you this. I have an embarrassing story about fenugreek. I got an
spell
embarrassing
that,
story
please?
about just about everything.
I love
Boudin
it.
Blanc too.
I was making a boudin blanc, and I had reached for the no. I was with the food writer Pat Nurse from Australia,
Yep.
and he was talking about a curry that we were both eating, and he said, "Oh, there's just too much fenugreek in here." And I nodded my head and be like, "Yeah, totally, like fenugreek, right?" You could put fenugreek right in my face, I would not tell you what it looks like, what it tastes like. I have no idea what it means to have too much fenugreek. Can you tell me what fenugreek brings to the dish here?
So this is actually the leaves and not the seed. The seed does get quite pungent, and that's kind of more in that anisey, almost cumin-y vibes. But this, I'm not familiar actually cooking with fenugreek leaves that much. But when you smell it and it's dried, it has very like dried grass alfalfa notes, a little bit on the bitter. When you put it in there, it kind of blends in there and gives, I don't want to say parsley notes, but kind of that background herbaceousness that it's not very distinct like fenugreek seeds. Fenugreek seeds are like, definitely can punch you in the face.
So
You lost me at hello.
I really like so my first impression of this, because the last time you were on the show, I think you chose a recipe that was like a little bit unexpected, I would say. And what I thought, I kept thinking about you choosing this Indian butter chickpeas recipe and wondering why. And thinking to myself, I don't know, like spiritually, does this like make sense? Does it like abide by any of the kind of rules of dinner for one cooking? And then it occurred to me that you never get to cook for yourself.
Yeah.
You always have to cook for your kids or your family or anybody or restaurant customers or whatever it is. Very seldom do you have opportunity, and when I say you, like I mean myself too, to cook something that I've never cooked before, to cook something I never would usually cook. Recipe Club is your cooking for one moment.
But yeah, I mean, I love eating Indian food and I always eat it at a restaurant. I rarely cook it myself. So when I saw those ingredients and I was like, I pretty much have all those, I can make that happen and it's something I know I would eat and I could put it in my fridge and have it for multiple days and it's enjoyable to eat. Like, yeah, this is great. Like and the spice level, it's on the spicier tip. I wouldn't say it's super spicy, but it is. And it was kind of an adventure to know that I have these things and I can make this stuff and then enjoy it. And if my wife and kids are out, I might just do this again.
Just go on an adventure by yourself, a solo
I don't
adventure
normally
at home.
have cream at home, but yeah.
You don't normally have cream at home?
No, what do you use cream for all the time?
Fattening my children up.
That's what butter's for.
You can use both at the same time. Let's get into some of the feedback here. Becky, you found Marc's Indian Butter Chickpeas to be perfectly seasoned.
Yes.
It's got all the macros covered.
It's got all those macros. It's true. It's so true.
You loved all the different textures. So just so if people didn't see the dish, the way Marc served it was with some, I think you had long grain rice, a few wedges of naan, and some nice peeled cucumbers.
We're up in the quotient. We're going for 3 carbs now.
2
2 carbs is not enough anymore.
Those are my macros. That's what I do.
This is interesting. One of my positive comments about your dish was that it was a 3x starch, a triple starch. Under criticisms, Chris Chen, 3x starch. A little too much for you, Chen.
Yeah,
Single man.
I'm a single guy. I got to keep it tight. Hopefully it's a dinner for 2 at some point.
It's always going to be a dinner for 1 if you're going for triple starches at every meal. Becky, you thought maybe it could be a little hotter or spicier.
Yeah, just a little bit. I thought
agree.
it was really well seasoned. But yeah, it's like to your point, you're usually having to make it milder for your kids anyway, so it makes sense.
This is a real Becky Joiner style criticism.
Don't read it.
Cucumber could maybe be sliced smaller, or I guess I could cut them myself.
I didn't want to use my knife like an idiot.
Tastes just like the version at our local Indian spot. Very good. Would love the recipe. That's what Becky has to say.
Delish.com.
Chen says, beautiful presentation. Spice level is bueno. You enjoyed the spice. I also thought that the heat was very nice. The gravy is exceptional. This is just me, but if I was eating solo, I don't think I would ever, just being honest, I love vegetables. I don't think I would eat a vegetarian meal. I would love that same gravy applied to a piece of flesh.
See, that's also, I guess, a little bit of attraction is like when I'm cooking for my kids, I was like, I want them to eat protein, stuff like that. So I think we do tend to eat more fish, meat, stuff like that. But if I'm by myself, I'm trying to like keep it more vegetarian, maybe a little bit. Wow. We try to mix in the vegetarian meals with the flesh meals too.
I wonder if this is better with like the black gram with like the sort of smaller legumes, smaller beans or something. I didn't love the chickpea necessarily. I guess my overall thing is like the gravy is insanely delicious.
Delicious.
I would put it on anything, my flesh or other people's flesh. Okay, that is Marc Johnson's best Indian butter chickpeas recipe from delish.com. Did you follow it pretty closely?
Yeah, pretty much. Because, like I said, I don't cook Indian food, so I just really wanted to follow this recipe to be like, all right, this is how you develop flavors in this. I don't know if it's authentic or not, but I just wanted to try to see, following the recipe, what I would get.
You just wanted to put yourself in the hands of Taylor Ann Spencer.
I did add some like shiradashi and like my normal like soy sauce kind of like
your little
add-ins.
umami toolkit.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Which is like I add to pretty much everything.
All right, so give me your rating of this recipe. Now, this doesn't factor into your score or anything, but like as a recipe, give me a 1 through 5 score on this recipe.
I would say it's a 4.46. As in, I would cook this again.
Nice.
Wow.
It's like not quite like dang, like hey everybody, you guys need to cook this. But for me, I'm like, it's all stuff I have at home. It's delicious. I can store it and keep it for the next couple of days for meals. I thought it was good. And the amount, you just like chop some onions, chop some ginger, chop some chilies, chop some cilantro. That's it. It's pretty easy.
4.46. That just happens to be the 40-yard time of our next Recipe Club member.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
You run a 4.46, right?
Yeah.
Our final recipe for today in our Dinner for One episode is courtesy of Christopher Chen. As we said, the ringer here, the one who cooks for himself from time to time. And the recipe you chose is something that you genuinely make for yourself at home.
I do.
What'd you do?
Well, it started as comfort food, right? My mom used to make this for us at home when we were kids. So I did a little consult with Mama Chen last night and talked to her about what she did. But, very simple. Saute some veggies, onions, carrots, mushrooms.
Mushrooms.
I love mushrooms. All kinds of mushrooms.
What kind of mushrooms we talking about
All
here?
kinds of mushrooms. Put a little garlic in there. But I went a little off script off the, a very simple recipe off the back of the box.
For golden curry, excuse me, because this is the golden curry, for those who don't know, is one of the big brands of Japanese curry. They come in roux blocks. You throw them in there, as Chen is talking about. It's an instant curry situation.
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple. It's versatile. It's, as Marc said, it's repeatable too, right? You can put it in the refrigerator. You can eat it the next day. So mushrooms, we put the mushrooms in there, but chicken broth instead of the water.
Mm-hmm.
So boiled that in chicken broth. I deboned the thighs, kind of.
Debatable.
So you started with bone in, skin on chicken thighs.
Bone on, skin on chicken thighs. Yes.
Did you use those bones to make the stock?
I did not. I did make a stock on the side though. But then
I will believe that when I see that. You made
I'll
a
show
chicken
it to
stock
you.
on the side.
I did. I'll show it to you.
My ass. All right, carry on.
But yeah, so I like a little softer veg. So I left it simmering in the chicken broth for a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
But part of Mama Chen, what she was telling me is that she used to put little pieces of apple in her curry just to get it a little sweet. I did not have an apple at home, so I put a little agave in there just for a little sweet. A touch of miso paste.
Oh,
Yep.
real Japanese.
I learned that on a little show called Ugly Delicious.
Heard of it. I
I've
heard
seen
it's
on
pretty good.
Netflix.
I heard it was pretty good.
But yeah, that's about it.
And then just over rice, you use the both of the packets of block. How much of the curry roux block?
The
do you use?
whole box.
Okay.
What spice level?
So when I went to my local grocery store, it was a medium hot, which is really mild.
Yeah.
So I did put a little chili pepper in there just to spice it up a little bit, and put a little cornstarch in there to thicken the stew a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I did that.
I did.
Okay.
with a little advice.
I mean, let's peel back the curtain here. I will say you arrived at our offices, our studio today. I knew you were coming in with Japanese curry. You brought in a very small amount of Japanese curry, and I was like, where is the rest? And you said,
It's in my belly.
so this might be, I mean, Mark, you said you made this before. Becky, you've made this many times before. We're literally eating his dinner for one leftovers from last night here.
I mean, that's as authentic as it gets.
Typically, I would have this portion of leftover for my dinner tonight, where I might do it over noodles.
Wow, and you shared it with us.
I did.
We're
Thanks,
just
Chris.
taking food out of his
That's
mouth,
right.
off his table. We're literally just eating his dinner.
This is true.
Which one's better, the day that you make it or the next day? Because I could be like, oh, the second day it sits, and then you don't have to prep, and you come home and you're like, oh, I already have everything made. I know it's delicious.
The second day is beautiful because I usually eat it over noodles.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a different meal.
And by day two, he's usually not alone at home anymore. So
Hopefully not.
He's going to bring
Hopefully
it back
not.
in there. It was a little thin when you brought it in.
It
Is
was.
Is that a problem that you sometimes have?
I do not like thin curry, so I like to thicken it up. And I talked to my mom about this. Maybe a little dairy, little cornstarch, different ways to thicken it up.
Mhm. And your mom would make the Japanese curry.
She would make the Japanese curry. Yes.
Little apple is very nice.
Yes.
Because I think there's some of these boxes say like a touch of apple and honey is like what they like.
Not on the golden curry box.
No, I think it's maybe the what are the other ones? Java curry.
Java,
What else is there? There's
Vermont.
Kotu, Vermont is one, and there's
I
like
love those.
Kokumaru or something like that. All right, let's get into some of the feedback. 'Cause, okay, so Japanese curry, a classic dish,
Yes.
a very personal one, just like
But
Becky's.
simple, versatile, easy to make.
Do you now? I make Japanese curry quite a bit too. Do you always stick to the same vegetables?
Oh, very
No.
good question.
Okay, because I one of my things with the Japanese curry is I can like throw whatever vegetables I want. My kids will eat it. Like
love
mushrooms, I can get that in, and they don't even notice that. There's like cabbage, all sorts of stuff.
I purposely excluded potatoes. A lot of people put potatoes in there.
That helps thicken it too.
It does help thicken it, but if I'm going to take my carbs, I'm going to eat it in my rice.
Oh, double carb
Yes.
situation.
That's
Yep.
right. Try to avoid that.
True.
Oh my God, just the subtle shots being fired everywhere is incredible.
No frozen peas?
Let's,
Come on.
No peas.
Marc Johnson says, I love Japanese curry, and this is Japanese curry. It's a positive.
Is that a positive?
I think so.
It sounds positive to me.
I'll take it.
Listed under positive, so I can only assume well seasoned.
Thank you.
I mean, I think he's
miso.
really complimenting S&B, the company.
No, there's the miso, which I didn't taste that. I did taste it. It was
Which kind of
sweet.
miso did you know? What color miso you
It was a
used?
white miso.
White miso,
Yeah.
a shiro miso, if you will.
Oh.
Mark thought it was a touch sweet.
Okay.
Screw you, Mark. Who cooked the rice? It was too soft. I was upstairs in the office and I was texted a picture of these two yahoos standing
This is
around
true.
like Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson and Zoolander trying to figure out our rice maker, just banging on a computer, just being like, the rice is inside the
Does that
machine.
mean we were like DJs? We're like touching on the cuckoo?
And so I came down and yes, I eyeballed the rice and I was a little off. It was a little bit soft.
First of all, you didn't say how much rice there was to begin with.
Oh, when I first came down and I opened the rice cooker, Chris Chen had put like 6 grains of rice into the cooker. And he was like,
That's how much I eat.
He's single carb. That's his thing.
But I have a nice rice cooker at home,
Zojirushi?
Zojirushi, because when I hit the button, and there's a button on that one,
Yep. It says cooking.
and I use that to start the meal actually because it takes me about an hour to make this whole thing. So when the Zojirushi is ready and the sweet sounds
I love that tune.
of 60 minutes is up, I know I'm going to get a delicious
to
meal.
your best, to the best of your ability, and I know you have a good voice, Chen. What does your rice cooker I'm finished tone sound like? What does it
I can't
What does
sing
it sound like when your Zojirushi rice cooker is reached completion?
I can't even mimic it.
You got anything, Mark?
Oh no, but it sounds like heaven to me.
Yeah.
I love that. And then it's like 5 minutes later, open it up and smell it. And the
Just
smell
the-
of freshly cooked white rice is like one of my
Just
favorite
the-
things.
Becky
Soft,
Joiner, if
pillowy
you
bed.
and Zojirushi approached you for a collab, which they might after all of your Recipe Club appearances, and they were like, you can program any tune you want for this rice cooker when it's finished, what might that sound like?
Well, they wouldn't approach me because I make my rice on the stove like an idiot. But it would probably be. That's what I would want to hear.
I have to admit something to Zojirushi. I do have a Instagram account that's called Neurofuzzy that is about my Zojirushi rice cooker that somebody brought to me in Hawaii that I had to carry back to London.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how much I love.
So call Mark and then come to me for the sound.
No.
But there are
That's also my third one because my friends blew up. My wife and friend blew up 2 of them in London on the wrong plug.
So if you're out there listening, if anybody's getting a sponsorship or a rice cooker, it is me. Okay, it's me. All right, Mark, you thought it was a touch too sweet. You thought maybe a bigger variety of vegetables, but Chen, you don't. These are the ones you want.
These are the ones I want. Love carrots, onions, mushrooms of all kinds.
I do like the soft cook on the things because
Thank you.
That's where you get the sweetness. You don't have to
appreciate
add extra sweetness because those get sweet when
Okay.
you cook them.
That's good to know.
There's a question on these sheets that says, how does this just compare to other versions you've had? And Mark and I answered exactly verbatim the same thing. Mine is better.
You guys are jerks.
But I think that is the point. To some extent, in your defense, you make it how you want it to be, right?
Make it how you want it to be.
You like yours a little worse than mine, then go.
It's your memory. It's your mom's cooking. We can't say anything about that.
That's your
how you-
prerogative.
that's how you-
If mom made it a little worse than mine, that's on her. Becky.
Yeah.
Becky says the sauce is great. The chicken cooked perfectly.
Thank you.
A perfect ratio of curry to rice, nicely portioned.
The bone could have been cooked a little bit more.
You thought the carrots could be a little smaller.
Yeah. Again, the vegetable.
She
Could
does
I
not
have fixed it myself? Probably.
Becky does not like a big vegetable. Another Becky Joiner style critique. Maybe just me, but I also like the carrots to have more bite. They're a little soft.
Yeah. So where you guys like them softer, I like a little bit more crunch still.
But it like a curry, you're like folding it all together in this like soft, like warm.
That's where it's like if you do like the medallion carrots, like the little circle guys, and then get them still like a tiny bit crunched. I love that.
Apparently, there was a bone in Mark's. Was one of
That was my criticism.
I didn't even criticize that.
I know.
It was like the mental fear that you might bite into a bone. You're like,
I do have a question on this, Chen.
Please.
You boned out your own chicken thighs and allegedly made your own chicken stock out
Trying
of
to
the
take out my competition here, you know.
I had a little bit of chicken skin in my by a little unctuous piece of chicken fat and skin.
That's on purpose.
Is it? Really?
Who doesn't love chicken skin?
I mean, that's so true.
That's a guilty pleasure.
You said you wanted more flesh.
I want the flesh, not the skin. No, I typically like chicken skin.
you want it crispy.
Yeah, I don't even, it's not even that. Like, I like a piece of chicken skin, even in like a braise or something that's been fully rendered and is just, this was like it was just a tiny bit of flab. But my question is, do you usually bone out your own chicken thighs, or is that just a special occasion?
Whatever they have at Ralph's, right?
They didn't have boneless, skinless chicken thighs.
I chose that one. It was a buy one, get one free.
Yeah, I got that too. I was there for that too. I was there for the Ralph's buy one, get one free too. My comments, the Koreans have this concept of hand taste. It's like this sort of ineffable thing that grandma or whoever's cooking the food adds to the flavor of the dish, right? It's outside of the realm of recipes and proportions. Somehow you made this Japanese curry taste Chinese to me. I don't know what it was. Might just be your hands.
My hands
taste a little Chinese to me, which I love. That was a positive.
is that a criticism?
That's a positive.
Okay.
My second comment, I thought the mushrooms were going to be horrible. I was wrong. The mushrooms in this curry, very nice. They weren't squeaky was my main thing. I don't want like a chunk of mushroom.
Yeah.
It was very delicious. Nice spice.
Okay.
I also, I had written it as a negative because I was like, the carrots are so soft. And then when I really explored my feelings, when I searched deep inside of myself, I realized I kind of liked it.
Okay.
Wow.
Sorry, Becky.
I was going to say, now I'm by myself, but I love the self-exploration that you're experiencing.
I'm on a journey over here.
You are on a
Becky.
journey.
It's well, I don't know. They are very soft. I think like another 10 minutes and they would be just falling apart and like squishy, slimy, but they were right on the edge.
You don't want to eat a carrot like that just on its own on a plate. Like
No, but with
like
curry
eat or
smushed
sauce.
in with the rice.
Yeah, when it's in that kind of like gravy.
And let me
it's
just
nice.
say, way better to have overly soft curry vegetables than undercooked curry vegetables. Like nothing worse than like a crunchy potato, undercooked potato in my curry.
I'm not mad at a crunch. It doesn't, crunchy is bad, but like, just a little bite.
You like a little bite, huh?
I like a little bite to it.
I wonder why the Crunchwrap lady likes a little bite to her food here.
No.
I missed one of my favorite parts of eating Japanese curry in restaurants is the fukujinzuke, the pickled vegetables. At my house, like if we don't have them, we'll even put like pickled ginger on there or something. I like a little bit of that acidity to it. Yeah, Japanese curry, buddy.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Take it.
Okay, so that is all 3 of our dishes for dinner for one. I am now going to go back through these 3 club members and give them each a chance to stand up for their particular recipe, starting with Becky Joiner and the Leftover Crunchwrap. I'm a man.
Yes, you are.
I'm alone.
Say it with confidence.
I'm a man and I'm alone and I want to make myself some food for dinner by myself. Why am I making the Leftover Crunchwrap?
You're making it because food waste is bad. Okay, that's
good.
important. That's important.
Sustainability angle.
Sustainability. No, it's really because it's delicious. You can eat it over the stove or on the couch or standing in your hallway looking at pictures. You can literally do it
That was
anywhere.
very specific. I'm sorry. That was very specific.
Sometimes I like to move, That's the thing. I don't want food that's going to make me be stationary. Sometimes I like to move around a little bit. And it's, again, I know I already said it's delicious, but it's delicious. And it's very customizable. You can literally do it with almost any leftovers you have. You can make one right now.
You can be could you make it with some chickpeas? You can make it with some.
I wish you made it right now. I think it would taste better.
I know. I wish I made it right now, too. I actually think that both of these dishes would translate really well.
You know what would have been a very aggressive and cool move is if you had just not come with anything and just turned their food into your crunch
I
wraps.
was literally just thinking that when he was like, you should have made it right now. I was like, I should have just brought tortillas.
That would have been sick.
I made that would have been such a power move.
Yeah. Well, I can only judge on what I've seen. Marc Johnson, the best. Most authentic. Indian butter chickpeas from delish.com. If I'm by myself, a man making dinner, why am I making this?
You just want to go on a solo exploration by yourself, adventure out into somewhere you haven't been, taste some different flavors you might be familiar with, might not. And you're going to end up in a delicious destination and enjoy it. And then you're also going to have extra meals down the road too.
Christopher Chen, again, I'm a lonely man and I'm trying to make myself some food. Why should I make Japanese curry and not, say, a crunch wrap or a Indian chickpea?
Of course, it's delicious, like my esteemed colleagues. That's first and foremost. The golden curry, it's simple. It's easy. It's very repeatable. And my curry has more range than Steph. So I rest my case.
Shooting 4 pointers over here.
Are you a Warriors fan? Was that a shameless plea to try and use sports to win your favor?
I am, but also
I knew it.
At what point when you were between making your curry did that line occur to you? Okay, I've heard all of the arguments and seen all of the evidence. By the way, I just want to say this. This is pretty deep into the season now, and we are on a crazy streak of deliciousness. Everything we had today was outstanding, and any of these paths would be great for a solo diner. Unfortunately, that's not how our game works. You can only have one winner. So when we come back, I'm going to give you 3 takeaways for a great dinner for one, and we're going to anoint one of these solo wanderers the winning prize. We are back for the exciting conclusion of our Dinner for One episode here. I have considered all of the thoughtfulness that went into everything. We've tabulated the scores. We have a winner. It is close as heck. But before I can do that, I got to give you all a doggy bag. 3 takeaways for a fantastic, sensual dinner for one. First of all, a dinner for one recipe should be customizable to your own taste. You should be able to make it spicy if you want to make it spicy. You should not have to worry about the authenticity of it. Literally, nobody is looking. So do what you want with your dinner for one recipe. Second of all, leftovers are something to consider. How versatile is your dish going to be tomorrow and the next day and the third day when you have company over to turn it into something fancy and woo a suitor? And finally, and perhaps most importantly, dinner for one is an opportunity to let your freak flag fly. Oh my God. Do what you want to do with this thing, right? Again, nobody's looking. Dance with a crunch wrap in your hands through the hallways of your home, looking at pictures of God only knows what. So with all that in mind, we have taken the deliciousness scores that each one of you has assigned to your opponents or friends' dishes. We've averaged that out to a single number. My producers in the booth, there are 3 of them, all amateur cooks. They have given me an unbiased rating of which one of these recipes is most appealing to them. The thing that there are, I think 2 of the 3 of them regularly cook for themselves at home. Which one they might legitimately do at home. And finally, I have given you all a score for the cleverness and thoughtfulness with which you have approached your task today. Christopher Chen, I really, really appreciate the genuine nature of what you did here. It was the curry that tasted like your hands, that legitimately was your dinner for one last night. Don't think I didn't give you points for literally feeding us the food off of your table. Marc Johnson, I don't know if this is the most authentic butter chickpea dal makhni recipe in the world. In fact, I do know it's not the most authentic recipe in the entire world, but I think it was very, very delicious. I think that your dish, if I'm reading correctly, won the deliciousness scores from your opponents. And more than anything, I applaud the spirit of adventure that you embraced here in using Recipe Club as your one opportunity to cook for yourself and not for others. And Becky Joiner, the crunch wrap idea is so smart. It is such a great way of repurposing leftovers. I think the fact that you did larb is so smart. I think it's like it lends itself perfectly to this thing. If you accoutre it with some dipping sauce or whatever, it's going to be delicious. No Diablo sauce for me. Thank you.
Wow.
Very much. I don't need any of the Diablo sauce. The only drawback was it depends on the quality of your leftover to make it really good. So with all of that taken into consideration, this was legit, I think, the closest it's ever been. Usually I say this and it's a lie. There is the first place and third place are separated by 0.5. So it is very, very, very tight. But there are only winners here on Recipe Club. And today, I, Chris Ying, am happy to announce that he will not be going home 0-3. Marc Johnson for your butter chickpea recipe, but more importantly, the spirit of adventure you have espoused. You are taking home not only bragging rights, but today's fabulous prize. It is a dinner tray for you to sit by yourself on the couch and have dinner with. It's got a Recipe Club branded, what is this thing called? A dining tray? I took this thing
serving tray.
Yeah.
A serving tray. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I took it for a little test drive earlier on the couch, and I might just be getting one myself. But Becky, Chris Chen, you're not going home.
Wait, who was second and who was third?
Do you guys want to know?
No.
Yes.
I can tell. Do you really not want to know?
I don't want to know.
Okay.
Tell me after.
I'll tell you after.
Okay.
Ooh.
I'll tell you guys here too. You guys are not leaving empty-handed, courtesy of our official cookware sponsor, Meyer. You're both taking home a non-stick piece of cookware from the IO collection, designed by this guy named David Chang.
I've heard of him.
He's a good guy. We're wishing him a speedy recovery from his surgery. Thank you, Chris Chen, Marc Johnson, Becky Joiner, for joining us on this dinner for one adventure. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Please subscribe to the podcast and the Recipe Club official channel on YouTube. Give us 5 stars. For God's sake, it costs you nothing. Just give us 5 stars, write a positive review, and we'll talk to you all very soon.